Hi, it's Jordantine1, and in this video I'm going to show you how to make my Loomigurumi Christmas tree. So this is the top version here, and then here it is from the side. So I think it turns out really cute, and on the left one here I just used beads as my decoration on the branches, and the one I'm going to be showing you today is this darker green with the white for the trim, and for that I use these little tiny light bulbs. So I will be showing you how to make a base if you want to stuff this and then close off the bottom. And the other option is you can just leave it open the way that I have this one, and then it's a perfect size to sit over a battery operated tea light or some kind of light to give it a little bit of an internal glow. So my inspiration for making these are the ceramic trees. You probably have seen them. They've been around for many years, and they have the little colored pegs that you can put in the holes, and then they have a light bulb that goes inside. So my aunt actually used to make these. She had made many different sizes of them. So we actually still have some that we put out every year for our Christmas decorations. So I wanted to create something that was sort of similar out of loom bands. To make your tree, you're going to need a hook of some sort. So the one I'm using today is actually a prototype. This was sent to me by the makers of Rainbow Loom. It has hooks on either end, and it has this nice rubber grip in the middle. So the rubber grip is movable. It's on there pretty tightly, but with some effort you can slide it back and forth, and you can even remove it if you'd like. So I had previewed a different hook, but almost identical, in my double Dutch cord cover video. So this one is just slightly thicker, very hard to tell, just ever so slightly thicker. So I really like the design, and this should be available for purchase sometime next year. So keep an eye out for that. And then I'm going to be using a twist tie to help me get the magic ring started. So that is optional, but I do find it very helpful if you use that. I'm going to be using a clip for my stitch marker. And then as far as the band counts go, you're going to need 320 green for the main part of the tree, and then if you did want to make a base, that's going to require an additional 72 of the green. And then 105 white and 17 yellow. And then for the decorating part, for the tree that I'm showing, I have these little light bulbs that are all connected on a string that I just bought at my local craft store. We're going to begin with a magic ring of 4, so for that I have 5 bands. I'll be using a twist tie just to help me get that magic ring started, and then I have a clip that's going to be my stitch marker. So if you're using the twist tie, you're just going to put it right next to your hook. If not, you'll just use your plain hook, and then you're going to take your first band and you're going to triple this. So it goes on your hook, twist, loop it back on, twist, and loop it back on. So you'll have 3 loops. Just going to pull this up and bend it in half, and that's just going to hold those 3 loops together. And then one at a time we're going to pull through the remaining 4. So it goes through those 3 loops, back on. You'll have 2 loops on your hook, one through the other. Back through from the front, always through those 3 loops. Pull through your second band, back on. Now you'll have 3 loops and one through the other 2. Back through for your third band, and then once more. And then you can remove your twist tie. You want to add your clip to the band that's on your hook. And then you just want to take a second and try and spread this out around the circle. I know it is a very small magic ring, so just try your best to even them out. In row 2, you're going to need 6 bands, and the pattern is 2 1 2 1. So we're doing an increase in the first stitch, and what a stitch is, it's this little sideways V that's on the outer edge of your magic ring. So since we had a small magic ring, it's kind of a longer stretch. That's why I had told you to straighten these out or spread these apart. So you're going to reach over, you're going to go from front to back, and you're going to push through that first stitch. There's always going to be 2 loops, so unless otherwise noted, you go under both. So we have our increase, which means 2 bands in the same stitch. So it pulls through, back on, you'll have 3 loops, 1 through the other 2, and then back through that same stitch for your second band, and repeat. Now in the next stitch around here we have just a single, and then in the next stitch we have an increase, so that's 1, and back through the same one for your second, and then in the last stitch where your clip is, you should have 1 single. And then at the end of the row you always want to take your clip and move it to the band that's on your hook. You'll need 8 bands for row 3, and the pattern's going to be 2 1 1 repeating. So we're always going to start with our increase, and again, just let me point out here, we went in this stitch here, so this next one over is our first empty stitch, but since it's that small magic ring, you can see that this is pulling towards the right. So if you look to the side, you can see that we did actually go under this one, so just make sure you're not going under that one again, and you're going over to the left. So we have an increase, so that's 1, and then back through for your second, and then we have 2 singles, so 1 in the second stitch, and then 1 in the third. In this fourth stitch we have our increase, so that's 1, 2, and then finally 2 singles. So 1, and then again where your clip is your last band. In row 4 you'll need 10 bands, and it's going to be an increase followed by 3 singles, repeating. So you're going to your next stitch over, it's going to start with that increase. So here's 1, and then back through for a second, and then we have 3 singles, so that was 1, 2, 3, and then we have an increase, and then your 3 singles. So sometimes I start the increases at the beginning of the row, sometimes I don't, just depends on how I feel when I'm making a pattern. You'll need 12 bands for row 5, and you can see that our pattern is now an increase and 4 singles. So you can see we're just going up by 1 every time. So my increase to start here, And then we have our 4 singles. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. And then my next increase and 4. So as I'm sure you can tell by now, we're increasing by 2 bands every row. But after this row, we're going to do something a little bit different. Row 6 is going to consist of 2 different sections. So what we're doing now, I'm going to call row 6A. So for that, you're going to need 24 green and 24 white. So up until this point, we've been going from the inside out, and we've been going under both loops. So for this row, we're going to be going under just the outer loop. So from the middle of this little V, you're going to push through just that outer loop. And we're going to start with 1 single crochet, and I'm going to be using white. So it's going to pull through everything. That's called a slip stitch. Get the other end back on and 1 through the other. And then I'm going to go back under that same loop a second time, and this time I'm going to do a half double. So I have my first band is green, pull through back on, and then my second band, which is white, is going to pull through everything. Get the other end back on, you'll have 2 loops. And then I'm going through that same loop one more time, that same stitch, just the outer part, and it's going to get even bigger. We're doing a double. So through back on, and you can see how I'm using my finger to just hold these other 2 bands back towards the base. Take my second green through just the first 2 back on, so we've built that up 2 rows now, and then the third one, which is white, is going to now pull through all 4 loops and back on. So all 3 of those are going into that same stitch. And then we're moving over to our next stitch, and we're going to do those in the reverse order. So through the outer loop, you're going to have 1 green, whoops, pull through, back on. You can see I'm leaving these in my fingers here at the base, the white ones. Second, through just the first 2, back on. And then the third one is going to pull through all 4 loops and back on. Now we're going to shorten it, so through that same loop or stitch, pull through the green, back on, you have your 4 loops, and that white one's going to pull through everything. And then back through once more, you have the white, and this time it's going to pull through back on and a single crochet, so the end loop is going to pull through the other 3. So that is one little swag that we have just completed. Now what we're going to do, and why I have a clip here, is we're going to skip a space. So I just put that there as a reminder to skip. So in this next stitch we're skipping that, and we're going to the next one over, again just the outer loop. So I have my single crochet, so just like regular, 1 through the other 2, and then back through that same one we're doing a half double, so through back on, you have 3 loops, and the white one will pull through all 3, back on, leave your 2 loops, back through the same. This time we have a double. So that's 1 green, a second green, and now the last one pulls through all 4, back on, so you have 2 loops, and now we did our 3 stitches into that same loop. So I'm moving to my next loop, for my next outer stitch, we have our tallest one first. So the 2 greens, and then the last through all 4. Back through the same one, we have just the 1 green. Second one through all. And then back through once more with the white. And this one is going to be a single crochet, so you'll have the end one pulling through the other 3. So now you can see here we've completed our second swag. So again, we are going to skip. So skip the next one, going to the outer edge of the next stitch. We have a single crochet, back through for a half double. So this second band pulls through the other 3. Leave the 2 loops. This time we're building it 2 high, so 1, 2, third one through all, moving to the next one over. We're keeping it with a double crochet, we're keeping that tall. So that's 1, back through again. This time it's only going to be 1 green. Second through all, and then back through a third time, single crochet, 1 through the other 3. So that's our third swag. Now we're skipping the next one. So we're just repeating that one final time. We have our single crochet, back in for our half double, back through again for a double this time, so that's 1, 2, and through everything. So that's our 3 in that one, so we're moving over. We have the double to start. So the white one through all. Back through for the half double. And then finally, that's single. So the end through the others. And now you should have 1 stitch left where your clip is, and that's the one that we're going to be skipping. Next we're going to do the second part of row 6, so I'm calling that 6B, and for that you're going to need 12 green bands. We're going to do 1 single crochet in each stitch, but it's going to now be the inner loop that we did not go through in the last section. So here's where we left off, and if you remember this stitch here where the clip is, we're skipping that one for our pattern. So I'm going to go to the next one over here, and this is where we went through the outer loop. You can see right here we have that inner loop that's left. That's what we're going to be going under. So from the inside, just push out and go under that loop. It's going to be a regular single crochet, and actually we are doing a slip stitch. I forgot we were changing colors, so I'm going to pull through everything and then get the other end back on, 1 through the other. So it does help if you take these little swag sections and push them down, and then it really opens up and lets you see where you want to be going under. So you can see our next one here, we're going under just the 1 loop. Do that single crochet. And now the next one here, you're actually going to see 2 loops because we skipped this one. We skipped every third one. So for this part, I can go under both loops. And then in the next one we have just the inner loop. Again, the inner loop. And then in that next one you can go under both. Again, the next one we have the inner loop. Next we have the one loop. And then in the next one you can go under both. And then we're going to repeat that again. So in the next one I have just the one loop. Again, one loop. And then finally, where your clip is here is where we had started. And what I'm going to actually go under is not the one where the clip is. I'm going to go under this white loop that got stretched when we did our second row that we did the slip stitch with. So I'm going to go under that one as opposed to where the clip actually is. So then I can take the clip off, put it on the one that's around my hook, and then that row 6 is now complete. In row 7 you'll need 14 bands, so we're doing an increase and then 5 singles and then repeat. So if you look here, you can see that the white band is already going through this stitch here, so where we did our slip stitch. So this isn't actually a true stitch, so ignore the first one. You're going under the next stitch over, and we're going to do our first increase. So we have our 2 going through that, and then 5 singles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then we have our increase. And then 5 more. And don't worry if your little swags are getting messed up, because as long as you're building this here, they are going to get sort of out of shape because you're having to hold it to work. But when we're all done, we're going to reshape those so they look nice and pretty. And then move your clip. Row 8 is going to require 14 bands, so it's just going to be 1 single crochet into each stitch. So you can pause your video and do that now, and then I will meet you back here in a minute. You'll need 16 bands for row 9. We're doing our increase followed by 6 singles and then repeat. So increase to start. And then our 6 singles. So 1, 2, 3, 4, whoops, 5, and 6, then the second increase, and then the remaining 6. In row 10, you'll need 16 bands. It's going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So again, I'm not going to film this since it's pretty straightforward. So you can pause your video and do that now, and I will see you back here shortly. Row 11 is going to be split into 2 sections, the same way we did row 6. So this is going to be row 11A. And for this, you're going to need a total of 40 green bands and 36 white. So it's the same concept as what we did in the other swag row, only this time they're being spread out over 3 stitches. So we're starting with a single crochet. We're only going in that outer loop. So push through, and I have the white, so I am going to do a slip stitch, pull through everything, back on one through the other, and then I'm going back through that same stitch, the outer loop. I'm doing 2 half doubles. So here's my first one. Remember that second band pulls through all 3. You'll be left with 2 loops, and then through the same stitch again, doing our second half double. So that second band pulls through all 4 loops this time. Going over to our next stitch just through the outside, and this time we're going to do 3 doubles. Remember, you're pulling through 1 green, and I'm holding these back with my finger, pulling through my second green, and then when that's 2 bands tall, we take our third band and pull through everything. So we're going to go through the same stitch, do that again. So 1, 2, whoops, through all, and then back through a third time. We have 1, 2, and through all. Now we're moving over to our next stitch, and we're doing our 2 half doubles. So there's the first one, and then through everything, back through for our second, through all, and then one more time. We have just 1 white left here. It's a single, so the end will pull through the other 3. So you can see here it definitely has spread out wider here. And then we are still going to be skipping one in between the patterns. So I'm skipping the next one, going to this next one over, and you can see I have the pattern laid out again. I only had enough room to lay out the pattern twice. So we're starting with our regular single, through the same one for a half double, same one for our next half double, moving to the next one over, we have 3 doubles, so we're building that up, 2 green, and then a third through all. So that's 1, 2, and then here's our third. Moving over to the next stitch, we have 2 half doubles. So there's our first one. Second, and back through for our single. Through everything, so you can see how it's looking here. We're skipping the next stitch, going into the next one, outer loop. So I'm just going to have to bring my piles over here. They're not laid out. So we're doing our single, and then 2 half doubles. So that's 1, 2, next the 3 doubles, so 2 greens and then a white through all, and then a second one, and now a third one through the same spot. And then finally I'm moving over to my next stitch. We have our 2 half doubles, and then a single. So we're going to skip the next stitch, and then we have our last set here to do. So we have a single, and then 2 half doubles, next stitch we have our 3 doubles, so that's 1, 2, 3, and then we have our next stitch. You should have 2 stitches left. Remember, we're skipping the very last one where your clip is. So we have our 2 half doubles, and then finally your single crochet. In row 11B, you're going to need 16 bands, and we're doing 1 single crochet in each stitch. So this is going to be done the same way that we did row 6B. We're going to be going in through just this inner loop, the opposite of the ones we did on the outer loop, and then every 4th one you're going to be able to go under both loops because we had skipped that stitch. So here's where your clip is. You're going to skip that. You're going to go to this next one over here, and if you again sort of fold this out and hold these back, it's going to give you a better view here. So, and if you pull this, you can see where we went through the outer part. Now we want to go through the inner part. So it's just the 1 loop. It's going to be your first single crochet, and actually we do need to do a slip stitch. since we're changing colors, one through the other, and then you'll have one loop for your second, one loop for your third, and then in the fourth here you can see that both loops are open, so just go under both. And then the next three are going to be single loops. And then the next one you can go under both. And then we're going to have three more with just one loop. And then under both loops. And then one more time here with the set. So one loop, one loop, here's our last single loop, and then the same way that I did the other one, instead of going under where the clip is, I'm just going to go under this white band, go under both loops there, and that's where I'll put my final stitch for this row. And then I can take my clip and just move it. In row 12 you'll need 18 bands. We're going to do an increase followed by 7 singles and then repeat. So you can see here where the white band is coming in here. This first green may look like a stitch, but it's actually not. It's from doing a slip stitch. So you're going to the next stitch over under both loops, and that's where we're going to start our increase. And then we're going to do 7 singles. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And then we have our second increase. And then our last 7. If you're hearing any extra noise in the background, it's probably the heat pump. Since it's kind of cold here today, it's been kicking on and off. And where I shoot my tutorials out in the office, the heat pump unit is actually right outside the window, so it can get kind of noisy. Row 13 is going to be 1 in each, so you have 18 bands. And again, I'm going to let you do this one on your own, so you can pause now. You'll need 20 bands for row 14, so it's an increase followed by 8 singles. So everybody should be very familiar with how to do this. We have our increase to start, and then your 8 singles. So here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, and then the increase. Whoops, just lost it there. Get back through that same stitch here, and then there should be 8 singles left. So we're almost getting down to the end here. I mean, really you can build your tree as tall as you like, but just for the sake of time and for the number of bands used, I decided that the biggest that mine is going to get is 20 stitches. Here's my last one, and then I'm just moving the clip. In row 15, you're going to need 20 bands. It's going to be 1 single crochet in each stitch. So I'm going to again let you do this on your own so you can pause, and I will see you back here soon. In row 16A, we're going to be doing our last swag pattern, and it's going to repeat the same exact pattern as we did in row 11 to build the swags, only we did 4 swags in that row, and we're going to be able to make 5 swags in this row. So you're going to need 50 green bands and then 45 white. So again, you're going to just the outer loop from the center out, and as I said, it's the same pattern that we've already done. So you're doing a slip stitch with the first one, back through, we're doing 2 half doubles, so there's 1, back through for the second, and then we'll move over to our next stitch. We're doing our 3 doubles. Whoops. So we're building up 2 green, third pulls through, so that's 1, 2, 3, and then in the next one we have our 2 half doubles, so that's 1, 2, and then in the same stitch our single. So we're still skipping one every time. So we're skipping this next stitch into the next one, just that outer loop, and we're going to repeat this again. So single, half double, half double, going to the next stitch, we have 3 doubles, so here's 1, 2, 3, and then in the next stitch 2 halves. So there's 1, 2. I just lost it. Let me see if I can get it back. There we go. Saved it. And then a single. So that completes 2 swags, and I'm just going to let you go ahead and do the rest of the 3 swags on your own, just because it's such a repetitive pattern. Now we just have to tie off this loose end, so I'll just take a green one here. So I'm going to get this back on my hook, and I'm just going to go through maybe like 1 or 2 loops here towards the inside. Take this last green band, pull through everything back on one through the other, make a nice and tight slip knot, and then it's just a matter of reaching through here, just through the middle of some of these bands, and I'm just going to take this and hide that inside. So here is the main tree here, and what you're going to do is just go around here and just try and carefully spread these out, get a nice half circle shape. You're going to do that for all of the sections. To make the star, you're going to need 16 bands. So it's made up of 5 little sections. So I've done 4. I'm going to show you how to make it. You're going to take 1 single band and you want to quadruple this on your hook. So you just put it on, twist, back on, and then do that 2 more times so you have 4 loops. Then you're going to take 2 bands at once, grab them with your hook, and then you're going to take this quadrupled band and very carefully slide that into the center. So you're going to do that 5 times until you have your 5 sets here. And then you're just going to get those all on your hook. So I'm just going through both loops on the one side and then picking up the other 2 loops on the other. Slide it down to the base of your hook. It's definitely going to get full, so you need to get all 5 on. And then you're going to take your last band, grab it on your hook, and you're going to slide all of these on. So as you're doing that, if you pull down on the section as you're pulling through, it does help it from getting hung up. It's definitely going to be tight. I feel like I'm not through every one here. I'm hung up on one. There we go. And on the other side here, grab this. And then I'm going to pull one through the other and pull that nice and tight to make a slip knot. So then you're going to have this loop here. So what you can do is to just wrap this around the inside just to hide it. So I'm just going to go through the middle, pull it through. You're going to have to work your way around a couple sections. Until it's completely hidden inside. Now to attach your star, what you're going to do is take one additional yellow band and you're going to go up through the center of the star and find a place where the pieces split, and you're just going to pull down through, and you're just going to leave it like that for now. And then I'm going to take my hook and go up through this very middle section here of the tree where we did our first magic ring. To start, I'm going to take one side of this, and you're going to have to sort of hold it the other side in your fingers so you don't lose it. And then just in one little space over, reach up through, grab the other half of that same band and pull down through. So now you're going to have to sort of fold this open. Just try to not stretch the bands. Try to stretch them as least as possible here. And you have your two loops. Actually, I see that I've caught a green loop. So let me just uncatch that. And then I have my two yellow loops. One's going to pull through the other, and I'm going to pull really, really tight. I mean, not so tight that you snap it, but you want it to hold nice and tight. And then just turn it back out. You're going to have to readjust your pieces here. And then your star is attached. Now, as far as the decorations go, you can really do anything you like. In my other example here, I just used beads. These are beads that I got out of my strand bands kits, and I think they're really pretty, and they give it a nice accent. And the thing I'm going to show you on this one is I got these little light bulbs on a string. I got them at my local craft store. I think they were $2, and then I had a half off coupon, so I only paid $1. You probably can find something like this at the dollar store too. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to string these up inside and have the light bulbs come out in the middle of each little swag section. So I'm just going to pick a spot here, and I'll go under where the swag lays, and I'm just going to push up through, get the bulb to come up through, and then push it up through the little swag. And then I'm just going to continue doing that for every one. I think I can use the bulbs that are right next to one another, at least to start out with, but when the swags get a little bit more spread apart, I might have to have an extra bulb inside. So just coming up through, and then up through the swag. So you can see I have two done here. And then here's my next one. Kind of have to go by feel. So basically I'm just going to continue doing that, pulling these up through, and then I'll go down to the next one and work my way in the circle until I've finished. Now I've completed adding my little light bulbs here, and I just cut off the extra little piece. So here's how it turned out. I think it's really cute. So if you wanted to, you could leave these hollow like they are, and you could get some kind of little tea lights or something and just sit these over top to add some internal lighting. I think that would be really nice. If you did want to finish them off, you could stuff them and then just make a bottom. So I'll just very quickly show you how to make a base. For the first row of your base, you're going to start with a magic ring of 5, so I have 6 bands. And I am going to be using the twist tie just to get it started here. So we are tripling the first band, and then you can just bend this in half, and then you're going to have 5 more bands to pull through, So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So then add your clip and stretch these out. In row 2 you'll use 10 bands, and it's an increase in every stitch. So 2 for each one. In row 3 you'll need 15 bands. We're starting with an increase, and we're doing one in every other stitch. So 2 to start, and then a single, and then an increase, and a single. So just keep repeating. You'll need 20 bands for row 4. This is going to be our final row. So it's a pattern of 2, 1, 1 repeating. So we're starting with our increase, and then 2 singles, and then just keep repeating. Now the final thing we have to do is to attach the base onto the tree, and so for that I'm going to be using 20 bands, and then I have 1 extra that I'm going to tie it off with. So our base piece has 20 stitches, and then the bottom of our tree also has 20 stitches. So if you remember from the other rows where we had the swag pieces, you're going to have 3 in a row that have just 1 loop, and then the 4th one you're going to go under both loops because that's where we had skipped. So if you notice your piece, it kind of curves in one direction. So you'll have to decide if you want it to curve inward or if you'd rather flip it around and have it curve outward. So I'm going to have mine curve inward just because I think it's going to help the stitches to line up better. And if you did want to add any stuffing, I usually use polyfil. You can go ahead and do that before you start stitching this on. So I am going to go through my loose band here, and then also through the next stitch, and I'm going to start in between the swags here where I have 2 loops to go under. I'm going to take my first band and I'm going to pull through everything on my hook, get the other end back on, and one through the other. And then it's just a matter of going to the next stitch over on each piece. Remember, the next one on the tree is going to be just 1 loop. And I'm going to pull through everything each time. So I have just 2 bands left, one through the other. And then over to the next, just 1 loop on the tree. Pull through all back on, and one through the other. Again, I have just 1 loop through everything, and then in the next stitch on the tree is where we had skipped, so you can go under both loops. So I'm just going to continue repeating that pattern, And if you're having a hard time seeing your stitches on the tree, just bend that little swag section back and it's going to give you a much clearer view. So you can just go ahead and continue with this. And I'm going to fast forward. Now I have one band left here. I'm going to take off my clip and I'm just going to go under 1 or 2 loops here, and I'll just pull through everything, make a nice and tight slip knot, and then I'm just going to go around here through a couple of stitches and just hide this loop. So you may have to go under several till you get it all the way hidden. So that's nice and closed off. And then you may have to do a little readjusting to your parts here since we sort of got them out of place. And then you are finished. I hope that everyone loves their new Loomigurumi Christmas trees. You can always leave me comments on YouTube and Facebook. Post pictures of your creations to my Facebook page. And please feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel, so that way you can stay updated when I have new tutorials available. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram, so feel free to subscribe to those as well, and also post pictures and comments there too. Thanks for watching!